And that's just endothelium. And elastic membrane. That's pretty much all that the intima is. It's very, very thin. This is the lumen here. Where blood is flowing through there. That's this area. So the intima is in contact with the blood. And it's very, very thin. You go beneath that, and there's another elastic membrane. And you get into a muscular layer. This is our muscular layer. And that's called the tunica media. And it's a combination of smooth muscle and elastic tissue and collagen. You find all three of those tissue types in here.
Sorry, we're just.
That little bigger again. That's the media. And then outside of that, you find what's called the externa. And this is much looser tissue. That's basically just collagen. Pardon me. This is typical of what you'd see in an artery. Okay. That's an artery. And a vein would look very similar. It would have an externa, but then its media would be very, very thin. And it would have an interna pretty much the same. Its lumen would be wider than the artery. And it would have the same three layers. Externa, media, intima.
Can you push it down a little bit?
Push it down a little? How about I back it
The
up?
external says what?
Collagen.
So the tunic intima is where the lumen and blood is?
The tunica intima is the thin layer of the vessel wall.
Oh,
The lumen is where the blood is.
so it's right before the blood.
Yeah, it's the wall. When you look at these, and I'll show you a histology section in a minute. Okay. When you look at these, you'll be really struck by how thin this media of the veins is compared to the size of the vein. When you look at it in cross section, veins tend to look like this. And arteries stay open. Walk down. So the artery those same three tunics, but a cross section. That's how they tend to look in a histology section. The arteries tends to stay open, and the vein tends to collapse. Okay.
And that's because of the thicker
The much thicker
media.
tunic media.
Okay.
Yeah. Veins, and you won't see, I've only ever seen one histology slide where you can actually see this. Veins will have little flaps of their endothelium. they'll have valves. They're called endothelial flap valves. Not flag. Flap valves. Veins have valves. Okay, arteries do not. And you can see that on the board. You can see the large vein that's cut through. You can see a valve in it clearly. Something else we need to keep in mind, and that is that blood vessels are organs. Blood vessels themselves are actually organs, and so they have tissue that needs oxygen and nutrients and waste taken away. So they need to have their own blood supply. It'd be a mistake to think that the walls of the arteries and the veins could get all the nutrients that they need from the blood flowing through them. They can't. So what you have to have is you have to have branches that come out of the artery. You actually have a branch that comes out of here. Lets blood come out. And then that becomes a capillary network that actually supplies blood to the wall of the vessel itself. Okay. And it would do the same thing, it would come down and do the same thing for the vein as well. And then, I don't have a blue, I used to have a blue. Oh, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. So then, we have blue, that's mine. So then it delivers that nutrients to the vessel and then it collects it back up. Same thing over here. These are veins now. And then they would go and they would deliver that blood back to the vein. They got blood coming in over here and out there. That network of vessels that takes blood to the wall and then takes it away is called the vasoviscerum. That is the vasoviscerum. On the key, they call it nutrient vessels. Okay, but its proper term, its proper name is vasoviscerum. And then on the board over there, you can see we have blood vessels that branch off. We have arterioles. So your arteries go, you have big elastic arteries, and then you have muscular arteries, and then you have arterioles. Okay? Our board starts with a muscular artery. And if you remember from the diagram that I had up yesterday, the elastic arteries are called conducting arteries, and the muscular arteries are called distributing arteries. So we're starting with the distributing artery. And then everything else below that is an arteriole, and they would go down and they would branch and branch and branch. Until eventually they feed into a capillary network. The last branch of the arterial network that, before it goes into the capillary network, is called a meta-arteriole. And they're the ones, and this isn't shown on the board, but they're the ones that have those precapillary sphincters associated with them. Then we go into a capillary bed, and that's where the blood gets deoxygenated, so that's where we go from oxygenated to deoxygenated. So when you talk about capillaries, we have the artery side capillaries and the vein side capillaries. And then from there we become a venule. A couple of those join, we become then a small vein. A couple of those join, we get a little thicker. And we become a medium vein. And finally that leads back into the large vein. That's everything that that board is showing here. So these are capillaries here. The veins are pretty amorphous, so there's really not a lot of distinction between a small vein and a medium diameters that get a little bit bigger. And I think there's one other little anomaly they're showing you on there. They're trying to show you a section where an artery, branch of an artery comes along and directly connects to a vein. And that spot then would be called an arteriovenous anastomose. That's also shown on the board. Okay? So now with that as a guide, and the list that I do, you should be able to point all that stuff out on the board. That board always shows up on the test. It should be pretty easy to tell me the tunica media or the flap valve or, you know, the vasovasorum, stuff like that. Now, what do these things really look like? Good question.
Yeah.
Then we'll look over here. I believe starting here. Yeah. Believe it or not, this will work. Once it gets like back inside. Okay. This is a